Okay, so here we have a linear supply curve, and we want to compute out the consumer surplus, or sorry, the producer surplus at a couple of different prices. So let's just say that the producer surplus, or sorry, the price is 2. And we want the producer surplus. Well, we just have to, like before, when we figured out the demand curve, the supply curve just a second ago, we have to draw out a price line that's horizontal at 2. And then what we want is we want to figure out the area of this shaded region, this triangle. And I will mention that this is equal to 2. Okay, so just like before, we have the area of the triangle. And so it's going to be 1/2 of base times height. In this case, it's 1/2 of our base goes from 0 to 2, and our height goes from 0 to 2. In other words, our producer surplus here is $2. And then, okay, so it's not any harder than before with linear demand. The same exact thing. It's just, whereas with linear demand, we were looking for a triangle above the price line. Here, we're looking for sort of the area of this triangle below the price line. And let's just do actually another price really quickly. So let's say price equals $4. Well, all we do is just do our price line of 4. And then this is, so when price is 4, quantity is 4. And we're going to actually split this up into sort of 2 different areas like before. Sort of and pretty consistent with the colors. So you should sort of start thinking about understanding what the different areas are, the sort of the different additions that can produce a surplus are. But we'll get back to that in just a second. Okay, so producer surplus here is just going to be the area of this triangle, this sort of triangle that encompasses the all the different shaded regions. And so our base is just going to go from 4 quantity to 0 quantity to 4 quantity. And then our height is going to go from $0 to $4. And here, our producer surplus is just equal to $8. So we had a doubling of price, and yet we had a quadrupling of producer surplus. It was kind of interesting. Okay, so a couple of, I think, important notes here is, like with consumer surplus, producer surplus can't be negative. If you get a negative sign, you flipped your area. I mean, the area of a triangle really can't be negative. And the producer surplus, if a seller had negative surplus from entering the market, they just wouldn't enter the market. They would sort of do something else. And so, yeah, the last thing I want to talk about here is where the sort of change in this producer surplus came from. This jump from $2 to produce a surplus, $8 to produce a surplus. What happened? Well, we still have the old producer surplus, right? That's just when the price was 2, this was our producer surplus we had. And now that the price is 4, we still have that. Another thing we have is the additional surplus of old sellers. And then finally, we have the producer surplus of new sellers. And so the price increased, and so the old sellers got a little bit more surplus, and we also got some new sellers who went to the market because the price increased, and they get some producer surplus. And so that is what's driving the change in producer surplus as the price increases.